Welcome back to Yahoo Finance Live. We'll call it California's answer to the Great Resignation. With Americans quitting their jobs at record rates, the state's legislature is debating a bill that would cut down a 40-hour work week to just 32 hours. Let's bring in a sponsor of that bill. We've got Cristina Garcia, California State Assembly member. We've also got our very own Dani Romero joining in on the conversation. It is great to talk to you today. Walk me through the thesis first. Why is a 4-day work week the answer?
As we have seen with the Great Resignation, over 47 million employees have left their jobs for better opportunities. And as we are transitioning back, employees are making it clear that returning to normal or what we had before is not good enough. And they want better benefits as far as free time and flexibility to do more of what they love and have better mental and emotional health out there. And so this is the time to have this discussion with individuals. Companies are already experimenting with this and they're seeing better productivity. They're not seeing labor shortages. They're not seeing attrition. And so we have examples. This is the moment to have this discussion. Employees are making it clear that they want better.
Assembly member, it's Dani here. So I was taking a look at your bill and it's for non-union companies. What about the union side? Would that take another bill to implement and help those workers? What is the idea on that?
The reality is that this bill is the floor and not the ceiling, and our unions often have fought for better opportunities and better benefits for employees. So I would gather that as they are negotiating contracts, this will be on the table and part of their negotiations out there. And so they have been great advocates here in the state for our employees. And if this becomes a reality, I imagine that this would just be the floor and not the ceiling for their negotiations.
I imagine you've gotten a lot of pushback from the business community, the California Chamber of Commerce coming out and saying the overtime costs that would be associated with this kind of shift would be untenable. How do you respond to that?
Well, I would say that the situation they're in right now is untenable. Over 60% of employers are dealing with a labor shortage that has led to lots of losses, them having to close earlier or not open at all. And so they could continue to complain about this, or they could learn to adapt, which is what employees are telling them in mass numbers out there. Companies who are adapting already are doing better. There are companies out there who are doing this. It's not all of the business community that has said no to this. This is the time to adapt, and everyone's going to be better off. People's bottom lines are going to be better off if we adapt sooner than later.
And Assembly member, it's Dani here again. So how does this differ from the federal bill that was proposed by California Representative Mark Takano?
So big fan of the bill that he introduced, but as we're seeing the gridlock in Washington, California has always prided itself with leading. And so we do take inspiration from Mr. Takano's work, but we are just starting someplace and inviting stakeholders to the table to figure out those details of how this works. There's a lot of similarities there with Mr. Takano's bill. But I think for us, this is just a starting point. We welcome stakeholders. That have been some good questions about how this would work. And we're early in the process. We just started the legislative year. We are year round. And so we do take inspiration from Mr. Takano's bill, not identical. And as the bill moves, we'll see where we land.
Hey, it's Brian Chung here. I want to ask about how this impacts the tech space, which obviously is very prevalent in your state. How do you think this impacts them? Because obviously, assessing hours and the enforcement of this might be easier for those lower wage kind of hourly workers. But for those that are salaried, how would you enforce what is often the case in the tech space, which is, working way more than 40 hours a week?
So this bill is limited to just hourly employees, but a lot of the tech industry is already pushing for 4 days a week and are trying to make it work out there. And they're actually leading and innovating here in the state of California as well. And so we welcome that discussion. We just put on a flag knowing that this will not cover everybody, but if we start someplace, we expect this to trickle down to all of our other employees as well and all of our other businesses.
And Assembly member, just to wrap it up here, it's Dani again. I wanted to shift gears a little bit and talk about California's gas tax. The governor proposed just last month the gas tax. I went through that bill and I actually saw some blank parts in that. And there was not a specific rebate amount in that bill or the ceiling amount for eligible vehicles. why is it that there's not really a clear cut when it comes to this bill that a lot of Californians are really anticipating?
Well, there's 120 legislators and a governor, and together we negotiate and we get to the finish line. And so I think that he's leaving a clue out there of the items that we need to negotiate. What's the dollar amount and who is eligible? I am a co-author of a bill that would give $400 back to all drivers for their cars out there. And that also becomes a starting point for negotiations as we're looking at how to give some relief to individuals at the pump out there. We're working fast. The budget is due June 15th, and we expect to have a solution and those blind spots that you're talking about figured out.
Yahoo Finance's Dani Romero alongside California State Assembly member Cristina Garcia. Thanks so much for that conversation. Appreciate it.